Top of the morning folks, today from the Reddit Rainforest. What is the most extreme thing you have done to win an argument? Landlord said I was smoking cigarettes in the apartment to try and evict me. Bought a couple dozen cotinine piss tests and gave the judge the pictures of all the tests. The case was dismissed with prejudice and the landlord was given a formal warning for lying. I still ended up moving out because the lease was month to month, but I still won a small battle against that piece of malarkey. Not me, but my high school chemistry teacher. He had been arguing for days that blue blood is not actually blue. That's just how your veins look through your skin, because the blood is deoxygenated. Our class clown David, however, persisted. Blue blood is blue. So one day Mr. N went into the science supply closet and came back out with a vacuum and a syringe. Pulled up his sleeve and drew blood in front of the whole class into a vacuum to prove that your blue blood is, in fact, just dark red. David never said it was blue again. It was my dad, and it was to win a bet. After a snowstorm, the snow on the farm had been plowed up into a big pile. My dad and cousin had made a $1 bet on how long it would take to melt. They had a date picked, and my cousin had after that date. As the date was approaching, it was obvious it was not gonna be completely melted. So my dad got on the tractor with the snowplow and spread it out so it would melt faster. This reminds me, one time when I was 10, my dad dared me to get on our hoverboard and go zooming down our street crouched on it. My dad did not take it seriously, but I did. I hopped on it, crouched, then locked my arms underneath my legs and leaned forward. I was flying, and it was honestly fun, until I hit a bump and went flying across the road. The entire left side of my body had been cut up and scarred, and I had to wear gauze for like 2 months. I looked like a half mummy. Each day my mom made me take off the gauze and put special medicine on everything. The worst thing about it was that my skin would heal, but it would heal into the gauze. So each night I would rip my skin off again to put medicine on to heal my skin. Sometimes it was like ripping off dead skin, and sometimes it hurt real bad. All because my dad dared me to do something stupid because he did not think I would do it. Worth it though. I was driving back from London with a wife and we were on the M25. For those that do not know, the M25 is a large motorway that goes around the perimeter of London. Like a giant roundabout with London in the middle. And my wife thought as we're on the A12 heading towards Essex, so as we're driving along she sees me signaling to go into the lane sign posted for Chelmsford. We needed to go that way as we live in Essex. And she said, "Why are you coming off at Chelmsford?" I explained that if we did not, we'd be miles away from home. She argued with me and refused to believe we were on the M25, so I stayed on it. Note, it was 7 PM. We had spent the day shopping and I had a car full of IKEA furniture in the back. We're driving along and suddenly she starts seeing signposts for Watford. She's like, "Why are there signposts for Watford? That's in Hertfordshire. That's miles from home." I was like, "Well, you will not let me come off at Chelmsford, so we're now going to have to go right around the M25 to get back home. She started effing and jeffing, but apologized, so I turned off at Hollow, which is in between Chelmsford and Watford. I was probably a 30-mile detour, but it was worth it. Secretly recorded her, and then played back her own words when she denied saying what she said. She tried to gaslight me so often that I bought a recorder just for her. I read every Twilight book because you cannot criticize it if you have not read it. Fear sucky books. But I have earned my opinion and can back it up with facts now. Said 50 Shades of Grey was a mindless piece of malarkey that never should have been filmed. My friend's girlfriend went off at me to not malarkey on movies I haven't not watched. Got out, got in my car, drove to my place, downloaded the waste of megabytes, watched the entire thing, got in my car again, drove to their place, got in and looked her in the eyes. "I just watched 50 Shades. And?" she asked. "It's a mindless piece of malarkey that never should have been filmed." My friend found it hilarious. Her not so much. So he got told off too. I wasted couple of hours of my life so I could malarkey on a movie freely. So honestly, no real winners in that situation. Insisted the lost item was not where my mum said it was. Ran upstairs before she could. Obviously found it where she said it was, and so I did the only reasonable thing I could and hid it. Waited a good week to find it again. Not me, but a high school friend on Thanksgiving got into an argument with his uncle of a polar opposite political vantage point. Started as just shouting and nothing really to write home about, but it began escalating to the point where he called my friend just an idealistic kid who does not know malarkey about the real world, which prompted my friend to yell real funny coming from a man with fake hair. Room goes silent and his uncle is fuming. He rips off his toupee and throws it against the wall, then proceeds to scream "You happy now?" before continuing the argument. Not know if this counts. My brother got into an argument with me, lost, then peed on the door handle of my car to assert his dominance. Your brother is an alpha. When I was 18 I worked at a bar/restaurant. The manager kept me working in the bar, then after 3 months, made me work as a waiter in the restaurant. I was not told any of the procedures, like, does this meal come with an extra bit, or how to work the washer, but he insisted I should know because I'd been there 3 months, even though I'd working in a completely different area. Anyway, on this night the dude that owned the place was in. The manager yelled at me to take something out the back. While I was out the back and alone, I decided to fake a limp as though it had an injury. When I fake limped back into the restaurant, the owner called me over and asked if I was alright. I said yes, it hurts, but I'm trying to keep up with everything. This is my first night on the floor and I'm not familiar with all the procedures. I'll try harder. The owner then got angry with the manager because it looked terrible that one of the waiters was limping around and that he needed to look after the staff better. I went home early with a full night's pay. Obviously I did not work there much longer. Probably the pettiest thing I have ever done. But that manager was really quite out of line, I thought. I made a post on Facebook that my sister did not like. She's in her 50s. She made fun of me in a comment on the post, so I commented back that she does not know what she's talking about. My sister does not like to be told off. She thinks she is better than everyone and that no one has a right to speak to her if they disagree. She is against gays and she says all black people are prejudiced against white people because they are jealous. I put up with a lot of stupid ideas just to have her in my life. Well, once I commented back to her on my Facebook page, she lost it, sent me a nasty message, then put me on block. I have a few pages on Facebook for other things and she went to all those pages and told me off as well. So I told Facebook she was dead. They memorialized her account within 24 hours and she could no longer sign in. You took "you're dead" to me a bit literally there. Fair play. I have read that Benjamin Franklin did something like this to a rival almanac publisher. He predicted the date of the man's death, only for his death date to pass without notice. To his rival's smug mockery. However, every year after that, Franklin would publish a memorial to the guy in his Poor Richard's almanac. And eventually many people came to be convinced that the rival was really dead and that the publisher claiming to be him was really an imposter, leading to reduced sales and eventually the collapse of his business. When the dude finally did die, Franklin published a final memorial, congratulating the rival's friends and employees for finally coming to terms with his death. Not me, but a friend of mine. My friend 24 meters is an absolute angel. He is straight, important later, and pretty much just looks like a teddy bear. No threatening aura whatsoever. Now to my story. Getting drunk in bad sides of the town is one of our not so smart pastime activities. Usually nothing ever happens. We're all kinda friendly with each other, but this night some other guys were in front of our favorite bar as well. We did not know them. It was fine. You still make some conversation. Just that my friend sometimes tends to forget that not everybody is cool with certain jokes. I honestly do not even remember what he said to that over 6 feet tall dude with a biker jacket and grizzly beard. He was probably just joke flirting as he always did, and that dude did not like that at all. He slurred something about being careful with what my friend is saying, and in the next second he already grabbed him by the collar, and my friend kissed him. Yeah. He literally just gave that angry maybe homophobic dude a peck on the lips and looked at him like a puppy awaiting a snack. None of us knew how to react. We just kinda stared, and I guess I was sure we'd have to get my friend to a hospital in the next few minutes. But alas, big burly dude let go of him, looking confused, and just left. It was the weirdest malarkey I ever watched. Dude insisted he was better than me at Guitar Hero. I could beat TTFAF on expert, so I was no slouch. I ended up bringing my PS2, GH3 and guitar controller to school, commandeered a TV on the rolling cart, brought it to homeroom, and demanded he prove he was better. He completely refused. It was crazy satisfying. If you're reading this, Morgan, I haven't not played GH since 2013 and am still better than you. My friend said in 1980 that I could not solve a Rubik's Cube. They had just come out that Christmas, so they were hugely popular. No toys were allowed at school, so we begged the teacher, the vice principal, the principal, and even the damn district superintendent to be allowed to bring one to school. We asked and several friends brought them to school and had them taken even before classes started. I made phone calls, had my parents call, had my parents write a letter, and then finally talked several other kids' parents into writing letters to ask for a Rubik's Cube competition. We finally succeeded, and I solved the damn cube. Take that, Chris. Not me, but my granddad. He found out this boy I had been seeing decided to dump me after I had a miscarriage. Well, Granddad knew he worked at this gas station as a cashier / janitor. Granddad proceeded to go into said gas station, buy 2 things of milk, compliment the store manager on how clean it was, and asks to speak to whoever, and I count, mop these fine floors. Manager gets ex-boyfriend. Once Granddad saw him he waved, and then proceeded to pour the milk onto the floor. Told ex I'm not gonna get an issue, I'll charge for what you did to my grandbaby, but I can make your day a little more inconvenient each time I see you. Granddad obviously was not allowed back into said store anymore, but he was old and did the pettiest ring that came to his mind at the time. I worked in a tattoo shop for a few years as a body piercer. One day a girl came in, and she had a bunch of tattoos and piercings already, but she wanted a 10G piercing through her cartilage on her left ear. I said no problem. We happen to have 10G needles on hand and 10G jewelry. Now to clarify, 14G is normal starting size, and as the numbers get smaller the hole gets bigger. She started freaking out and said, OMG, you can't just use a 10G needle. You have to use a 14G then a tapper to stretch it. I looked at her and said, lady, that would hurt like hell. I have 8G needles back there I have used on people's ears before with no problem. Hell, I'll do my own cartilage with one right now just to show you. She said there was no way I could do that. I made her go back and watch as I got everything ready for my piercing and hers. I got the clamp on, took a big deep breath, and jammed that thing right through. She went white as a ghost and muttered out, holy malarkey, you're crazy. I ended up doing what she wanted, and she tipped me double cause she said it did not hurt at all. I still have the piercing into this day. When I was in high school I would get in trouble a lot for breaking the dress code. It was a private Jesuit school, so they were really strict about things. I was even voted most likely to be out of dress code my senior year. I was in detention so much for it. There was one dean that particularly had it out for me and would always single me out of a crowd and chase me down to write me up. One Friday he gives me detention for my hair being too and tells me to get it cut over the weekend. Whatever. I was busted. So I go and get a haircut that weekend. On Monday he comes up to me and says that he told me to get a haircut, and I told him I did. But he refused to believe me. He said if I did not get a haircut by tomorrow, that I would get a Saturday detention. I was so annoyed and frustrated I went home, grabbed some scissors, and cut my own hair. It looked absolutely terrible, but it was technically within the dress code guidelines. In order to emphasize that I did get a haircut, I decided to put the hair I cut in a Ziploc bag and bring it with. With a bag of hair there was no way he could argue that I did not get it cut again. I show up to school the next day and walk into his office, pull out the bag of hair, and tell him, here, I have proof this time. He looks at the bag and my terrible haircut and is speechless. Then says, okay, I looked like an idiot for a while until it kinda evened out. But it felt worth at the time to stick to my dean like that. Not an argument as much as competition. My friend and I were playing Fruit Ninja a lot. At work. At home. It was a constant fight to get the top score. He would hide in the toilets at work trying to beat me. I would stay up late to beat him. He eventually got the top score that I could not beat. So one evening I got home from work at 7 PM and spent the next 4-5 hours learning how to jailbreak my phone. Took all night. I do not have any idea what I'm doing with this stuff. I eventually managed to do it and got hold of the cheats on Fruit Ninja. But I overpowered myself. I needed about 1300 points. But I could not help but get 1 million. So I then had to spend the early hours just trying to get the score I needed. By about 3-4 AM I got 1297. I got up at 7 AM to undo the jailbreak and go to work, where I fell asleep at my desk and got told off by my boss. But that was 10 years ago, and I'm still the record holder. Unfortunately, that is all there is for this video, but do not worry, there are many more coming. Like and subscribe for more videos from the Reddit Rainforest. Thanks for watching.